Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television and Radio Talk Show. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 1 p.m. on the Central Time Zones. I get to ride home with you in the afternoon. You may find us on television, Abundance Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com. And now we're back on the radio. And these folks right here claim to be the biggest in South Carolina, and I believe they are. It's WZLA, and they're something else. They're 92.9 FM on the dial. They play the old classic country stuff. Now, what I mean by that, there's some of this old Hank Williams stuff in there and all that. Tammy Wynette's what I call her. Some of that. But they play a lot of Alabama back in the 60s and the 70s and a lot of the 70s country that I love. So anyway, I'm so glad to be connected with these folks, and you can find us there as well. I have, continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. I treasure your emails. When I get one, I just go to pieces. I mean, I just love it. So continue sending email. I love hearing from you. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. I've got my friend Murray Edwards with me right now, and he's with the Newscasters Studio, and they're growing like crazy. You know why? We get a voice. We don't feel like we're going to be shut down. We don't feel like if I accidentally say, I'm not going to wear a mask, that I don't feel like you're going to say, Donna, stop it. So,
you're right. We continue to grow. In fact, I got a phone call from a friend of mine up in New York. Actually, having a friend in New York is somewhat questionable anyhow. But he goes down, he goes to the website, and his comment was, you guys are becoming an alternate news platform, because everybody that is on the platform is pretty much tells it like it is. You know, we don't have any folks what you would call go off the deep end. They're talking about things that are going on in their state, their communities. Some of us, like myself, do a national show that talks about politics across the country, but most of them folks are focused in on their geographic region, and they're talking about the issues that are going on in their local regions. And that's important, because even the local newspapers and the local radio, some of the local radio stations and the local TV stations, they're not covering that stuff. They've been bought out by some of the bigger franchises. You know, we talked about it once before. Source bought out 260 radio stations across the country. And when he bought that platform of that network out, he started shutting down some of the conservative people that were talking on those radio stations. So we give, what you want to talk about, you can talk about. So as long as you don't go off the deep end. But we've got some wonderful people from one end of the country to the other. And we actually, I think I mentioned it the last time, we now have a young lady in France who has joined the platform, and she's talking about things that are going on in France and Italy and England and things of that nature. And she's giving it, letting people know there, because you're talking about censorship. There's all kinds of censorship in the European Union and in the UK. And it's sad that you can text something on X or whatnot, get off the plane and get arrested for what you said 2 months ago about somebody, or stand in the street and say a prayer for a group and get locked up. That's censorship, and let's hope something like that never comes here to the United States. But something we have to fight as a community.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk a little Alabama politics. Looks like it's going to come up between Tuberville, maybe Doug Jones. I've talked to Doug. Doug was just glad because I didn't. And this is the way I liked my show. I like for my show to be conversational. Whether I agree with the person or not, I still would like to have them on the show. And if it's something I don't agree with, and they're going to put their foot in their mouth, well, then I don't have to do a thing. I like living that way. I just like someone can stumble on their own. But Doug, you're welcome to come back on the show, bud. I'd like to have you back on, and I'll let you go. And then Tuberville. Let's talk about the two of them. In their platform. I know Tuberville is going to be much more like President Trump.
Absolutely.
I love Trump. I think best president we've ever had, ever. And we've had a few notable. I loved Reagan. Reagan was great. To me, he was. You remember when Ross Perot ran?
Mm-hmm.
My dad Democrat, my mother Republican, and I wasn't a card toting either one of them. I just didn't like Daddy Bush, and I just didn't like Bill Clinton. So I voted for Ross Perot, but he was the businessman. And what really got me was when his employees had been kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he got tired of waiting on the government.
Yep,
and
he did.
So he just hired his own crew.
That he did.
I'm like, that's my guy.
That he did. It's going to be. Jones has been sort of holding back. I think people have been pushing him for a couple of months to run. And I think deep down he wanted to, but I believe he was probably waiting to be sure that he was going to have the funding to step in, because Tuberville's got a boatload of money behind him. His last I saw, he was bumping up somewhere around $4 or $5 million, for his campaign. And now, the other people who are running, there's 4 or 5 other folks. I mean, it's not just these 2 folks. There's 4 or 5 people that are running. None of them are going to have the bankroll. None of them got the namesake. A couple of them claim to be Trump-type conservatives, but there again, they don't have the namesake of Tuberville. And even though Jones has sort of been out of the picture for quite a while, he does have name recognition.
Yeah, he's got the name.
So it will most likely, when the primaries are over with, it will come down to them, because the Democrats that are running, you got a guy running around with a cowboy hat, and he's just running around meeting people. Seems to be a nice guy. I've not had a chance to meet him or talk to him.
I've interviewed him. He's a nice guy, but the problem is he jumps around parties.
Oh, so he's all over the place. He's all over the place. So the 2 guys with the name recognition are going to be the last 2 standing. And, we can say that Alabama is a conservative state, but the challenge is going to be in the urban areas, the Birminghams, the Montgomerys, the Mobiles, what we call the Black Belt. And, will he have enough support in those areas to outweigh the people that are in the the rural areas? Because anybody who has. They've moved out of Birmingham. They've moved out of Montgomery. They've moved into the suburbs. So that's where the battle is going to be fought. And there's some unique organizations in some of these major cities now that are going to throw their support behind him, behind Jones. But I believe that it's going to come down. I think Tuberville will probably win it handily, unless something, as we talked about earlier, unless something out of the clear blue sky comes up. And we know the last time Jones ran, he managed to pull something way out of left field, and pretty much killed the opportunity of the gentleman he was running against for Senate at that particular point in time. So we'll just have to wait and see how things shake out.
Well, it's so funny how things you just thought about doing when you were 10 years old can be held against you.
Mm-hmm.
It blows my mind, and people will believe it without seeking the truth.
Absolutely.
You're one of the few people on Facebook that actually take what you put to heart, because I know that you do research. But I'm just talking, there are a number of well-meaning people who will just throw stuff out there. Like I saw somebody put out there that who was it? Was gonna that our former Alabama coach was actually going to be an Auburn coach. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. Nick Saban is not going to go to Auburn. So why are you throwing stuff out there? And then with AI getting so sophisticated and much better, my fear is they're going to come up with something weird that didn't even happen that, Tommy Tuberville supposedly did, and you can pay a crying woman a lot of money and they'll say whatever.
That's true. I mean, I think back, I was no little angel when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, and I'm sure none of us were perfect back in those days. And we did things that we probably regret now that we're we've aged a little bit and got a few years on us and a little bit more wisdom, to us. People hold people accountable for something that they did. They may be 65, 70 years old running. They hold them accountable for something that they did when they were 21, 22, 23 years old. And you're just learning about life at that age. You're just trying to figure out, what do I want to do with myself when I grow up? Because you're still basically, you're a young man or a young woman. You're still trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. And we're not all angels. Now, it's a little different if you're in your mid 40s and you're 50 years old and you're running for office and you do something bizarre. That's an entirely different situation. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, there's going to be some dirt slinging, I'm sure. Alabama's election cycle this year is going to be so bizarre. We've got so many people running for offices: lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general. And some of them are good folks, some of them aren't. And it's just a multitude of people running for particular offices. So we can almost guarantee, with the exception of the governor's race, there's going to be a runoff between somebody, because it's just too many people running. There's no one individual that's running for lieutenant governor, for AG, secretary of state. There's so many people running that there's just no way that any one particular individual is going to get to 50+1. So there's going to be a runoff of some sort. And we'll just have to, see how it shakes out from that, because there's some good people running for lieutenant governor. Why, I don't know. A.J. McCarron all of a sudden decided he wanted to run for lieutenant governor, made that announcement. I mean, there'd been rumors for about a month and he was going to run, but he'd never even registered to vote in the state of Alabama. So he goes, registers to vote. About a week before, he says, I'm going to run for lieutenant governor in the state of Alabama. He's not voted in the state of Alabama. So there's some, I'm not going to talk about it. There's some weird stories as to why he's running, what was prompted for him to run. And as you say, I try not to put anything out that I can't document and factually, substantiate. So I'm not going to say, but there's some weird things floating around. And of course now, and again, I don't know whether it's going to come to back. We've got Feinbaum talking about running for Senate.
Heard that.
And you sit there and go, why? I mean, to my knowledge, he has absolutely no background in anything political other if it's SEC sports. Now, if you want to talk SEC, the man knows it inside and out. But what he knows about Alabama politics, and of course, he just recently moved back to Alabama. Mm-hmm. So I guess now that he's back in the Birmingham area, he can claim that he's an expert and can run. It's just weird. It's just weird.
I feel like with Tuberville, they're going to pull out something about his citizenship, because that's been kind of like that. And
well, they're going to pull out because his wife lives in Florida. She lives in the Panhandle. Now he has a house, and the family has a house here in Alabama, someplace. Actually, I live on the lake down here. From what I understand, it's someplace on Lake Martin. Where exactly, I don't know. But his wife's a real estate agent down in the Florida Panhandle, and that's where she lives, or that's where she's working. Let's put it that way. So, I've been to a handful of events, and Tommy's been there, and he's just smiling and shaking hands. And, from that stand, it actually came up when he announced that he was going to run, is does he have true residency in the state of Alabama? That was a factor. And so I can only assume that that's the one thing that Jones is probably going to try to use and say, well, he hasn't lived in the state of Alabama. He spends all his time down, 40 miles across the state line down in Florida, down in Panama City or Pensacola or whatnot. So if there's anything else, I don't know. I guess there could be, but I would imagine that's probably going to be the one thing that he's probably going to try to push is, he's not a resident of the state of Alabama, or he hasn't been a resident of Alabama. He's been back and forth and all that kind of stuff.
But this is the interesting thing, and we all know this. A Democrat will just shoot something out of their mouth and say somebody did something, knowing darn well they did not do it.
Oh,
Think of Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh, they go back to his high school days. They get some woman who has these fake glasses on like this. She's slobbering all over the place, crying, carrying on, and all this kind of stuff. Why can't people see through that nonsense? That's going to happen. I predict it. They're going to.
I don't doubt it.
Woman up.
They don't, and it's, if you go back and you take a look over the last 2 or 3 weeks, the nonsense that's coming out of the mouths of the Democratic Party, it's just stunning, just absolutely stunning, the things that they can get away with, and no one, or basically no one, holds them accountable. They can say what they want. They can go on the mainstream media, and all they do is hype everything that they've said. And you've really got to dig around and find a platform or a news network that's actually calling these guys and gals out, because they don't feel like they can be held accountable for anything. They can blurt out anything. They can call you and I racist. They can call us bigots. They can call us this, and it's perfectly okay for them.
We're all tired of that. That's enough. I mean,
but that's their token word. That's their token word.
Playbook in football. That's what it is. But I'm going to tell you what. I'll tell you what I think won it for Tuberville when he was running for Senate. This is what got him, and it was meant to. It backfired on him. So what they did is they ran an ad, and he was at a football game. Do you remember this? So he was walking by, and some guy told him something that he didn't like the way he called the play or something like that. And he just looked over at the guy and said, "Go to blank." And
I don't remember that. I did not remember that.
That's what Tuberville said. Go to that. And I told Phil, I said, that's what's going to win it for him, because he's got a little bit of that Trump stuff in him. You know what I mean? Where you just kind of just like throw it out there.
Yes, ma'am.
People are so tired of this. Now, I'm just going to tell you, a rhino, I'd rather, and I've told you this before, I'd rather be around a flaming lib. I'd rather be around them than a rhino. I detest a rhino.
You don't know where they stand. You think you do, but there's been too many times I've had conversations with someone who's got that tag, and you try to confront him or her on it, and you can just watch their eyes. Their eyes are just darting all over the place, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what do I think he really wants me to say, and I'll say it.
Or they're looking over your head. They look up. I was in Montgomery. I'll not say who, but I was in Montgomery, and I was talking with a man, and I was actually standing against the wall. Well, he kept looking up over me like this. I even turned around like, is there somebody behind me? I mean, it's like he wouldn't look at me. And I believe the old adage. I believe my granddads always said this. They would say, you can tell a lot about somebody about the way they look at you in the eyes when you're talking to them. If they don't look you in the eyes, you better run off.
You know, I'd rather have a sit down, knock down, drag out. And I've had some with some folks down at our state house. But, you know, when we're through with that conversation, they know exactly where I stand and the folks that I'm trying to support. And I know exactly where they stand. And somehow or another, maybe we can come to a middle ground on something and say, well, let's see what we can do about making this work. I've gone down the hallways, and I see a representative coming, and he knows I'm coming to his office, or a senator knows I'm coming to his office to ask him a specific question. I've seen him turn around and walk and go down the back steps because they did not want. Oh, what's he got to say? What's going on here? But unfortunately, we've got a lot of those in Montgomery simply because when they used to be Democrats. There's very few that are sitting down in the city of Montgomery, this our state capital, that actually ran for office and had been a Republican for a long period of time. They ran for they ran as Democrats, and when it looked as it occurred, the Republican Party started to shift, started to build momentum. They said, well, for me to get reelected or me to get elected, I've got to run as a Republican. And there's many of them. They're starting to, some of those are starting to retire now, but there's still some down there that ran for years as a Democrat. Our governor, prime example. Our governor was a Democrat for eons before she switched over and became a Republican. Many of them down there did.
Nathaniel Ledbetter used to be a Democrat.
Yeah. Steve Marshall, our attorney general, was a Democrat.
Absolutely.
So
we're going to an extra commercial break. We have some new sponsors, and I got to make sure they all get in there. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes. But we got plenty to talk about.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Good afternoon. We are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of television talk show Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. As I get to ride home with you in the afternoon, it's so much fun to be with you. Continue sending email, Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. You may find us on Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire, and the podcast, thenewscasters.com, where I'm so proud to be part of. And if you have a voice, I'm pretty sure those folks want to hear from you. So get in touch with Victoria Lee Scott. I've got her number on speed dial if you would like to talk with someone about being with us. And also, you can find us on the radio, Classic Country, 92.9 WZLA. Proud to be part of their team as well. Some more things are in the works. I can't tell you about it yet. But anyway, we're expanding and growing it out there. We're absolutely proud to do so. By the way, War Eagle.
I'll do a roll tide.
Well, you know what? That's one game you can't. Okay, now Phil and I consider the perfect marriage. We could have seminars with people on how to have a good marriage. You got to have good communication and all this kind of stuff. But then there's that 1 week out of the year, that one dreaded week where it's just horrible. I mean, we have like the worst marriage on planet Earth. I'm an Auburn fan. Thank you to Auburn University. I know a lot about horticulture because of that. Got a great veterinarian school. All of stuff. They're absolutely fantastic. But my husband, Jesus help, my husband is an Alabama fan. So anyway, we'll shake hands before the game because we know the one of them is going to be ticked off at the other one.
Yep. That's one, of course, when you get down to legacy games, they're always, you just don't ever know. One team could have lost in the situation we've got this year. If Alabama Auburn, Auburn's only won 4 games. I think it's 4 games. Alabama's 8-2, and they've got this last game left. Of course, Alabama's trying to play to get into the SEC championship, and I've seen the exact opposite. You just really just don't know when you get into these type of games, especially used to be, your listeners may not know, it used to be held in Legion Field. They would have the Iron Bowl in Birmingham, Alabama, so it was a neutral site. And then they changed it to make it a home and home type situation. Well, ever since it's become a home and home, you really just don't know. Some freaky thing could occur. 2 years ago, 4th and 31, Alabama was 4th and 31 down by 5 points, and he throws a pass, and the guy catches it for a touchdown as time runs out. So you just
got a second?
Huh?
Got a second? There was 1 second left.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 second.
And way back before probably some of your listeners were around, Tiffin, when Alabama had a field goal kicker who was just absolutely one of the best in the country. Mm-hmm. Missed it. It lands about 3 yards short of the goalpost. The Auburn player gets it and runs it all the way back for a touchdown as time runs out. So and there was one game, this is way back in the 70s, where the punter got 2 punts blocked in one football game by Auburn. Alabama was expected to win it going away. Let's block a punt. And they say, kick, go ahead and kick. So it's just bizarre how those games. Yeah, but it's the same way with all. You got Clemson and South Carolina coming up. You got Georgia Tech, Texas A&M, and Texas. So you got all these rivalry games coming up this weekend. It's probably, to me, it's probably one of the best days of college football that exists, because you just don't ever know.
Well, what about Vanderbilt? They've been like the Cinderella team for the past 2 years.
They're not a scrimmage game anymore. Mm-hmm. Used to, if they won 2 football games a year, that was almost a sure win. If you went into, even if they came to your field or you went to their field, for 2 years, they've played some wonderful football. If you go back and look at the history of Vandy, they played some wonderful football. And have given a lot of teams a run for their money that nobody really expected them. What are they, 12th or 13th now, ranked at something like that in the country? Way up there. And they gave Alabama a run for their money. They give just about everybody they've played this year a run for their money, and that used to never be the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what they're doing.
Ole Miss, there was quite a few years where Ole Miss was just pitiful. Bless their heart. Mississippi State was pitiful. And, of course, now we hear LSU's trying to hire Kiffin away from Ole Miss, and I'm sitting there going, why would you leave someplace that's just the ideal spot to coach football? They're never going to fire you. You win 5 or 6 football games there, they're happy. You're going to try to go down to LSU, and they're going to expect you to win a national championship in 2 years, 3 years at most. And if you don't, they're going to run you off. Of course, they're going to pay them $90 million. So I guess I
was going to say pretty nice price tag.
Yeah, I mean, these buyouts are just unbelievable. I definitely chose the wrong profession. Try to have 1 or 2 good years, go get a $25 or $30 million contract with the $10 or $15 million buyout or more.
Get fired.
Okay, I'm done.
Get fired and take millions.
I'm done. Don't bother me. I don't want to coach again. I'm going to sit at my house and, sip tea at the pool. But
is Nick Saban going to go back into coaching? Is he going to stay where he's at?
I don't think so. He hates this. He hates this. He hates the portal. He hates NIL. And if I was a coach, that would be awful tough to deal with, because you can't build any. For the most part, not all the cases, but for the most part, you can't build any loyalty. When I was growing up here in our state, you either went one or two places. You either went to play, you went to Tuscaloosa to play. If you were good enough to play, you went to Tuscaloosa to play, or you went to Auburn to play, and then maybe you went down to Troy. Those are the three places you went to play. And whether you played in a game for the 4 years you were there, you never thought about leaving. You were there. Now, these young men and women, and I don't begrudge them getting paid. I mean, they're athletes. They could get hurt. They may not make it to the next level. That doesn't bother me that much. What's bothered me is the portal, because you can sit there, you can pay this young man and women, because they got it in women's sports too. They may not be necessarily happy with how things are going. And they say, well, I think I'm going to go from Tuscaloosa to Auburn, or Tuscaloosa to Michigan, or wherever it might be. And you can't build any kind of loyalty. I watched a little bit of a Michigan game earlier this year, and I think there's 3 players that were on Alabama's football team last year that are now playing for Michigan. So you sit there and go, where is loyalty? Alabama's got 3 wonderful quarterbacks. You got to see all 3 of them play this weekend. How's he going to keep all 3 of those quarterbacks on the team for the next season when the portal opens up in January? So that would be the hardest thing if I was a college football coach of any particular sport, is you just can't build any loyalty, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. And then there are like quarterbacks that are not playing the bowl games. Was afraid they're going to get injured, and they're going. There's just no loyalty and it's taking a bite out of it for me.
Well, that's what happened with Miami last year. The quarterback down there was expected to be 1 or 2 in the draft or something like that. And he walked off. He didn't walk off the team, but he told his coach, well, after halftime, I'm not going to play. Do what? And Florida State, I feel for him when they didn't get picked for the SEC, for the playoffs. He had 22 kids walk off the football team. So you got to go try to find 22 athletes to rebuild a football team. To me, that's just the hardest thing. And I wouldn't want to put up with it. He's making, for a Saban standpoint, he's making more money than he knows what to do with anyhow, between the Aflac commercials and ESPN and all that kind of stuff. Why would you go put up with the nonsense again?
Something I noticed about Saban, though, even though I was an Auburn fan, I just noticed when he was being interviewed, especially when it was a pretty girl, I noticed he kept his eyes down on. It's like he was afraid. He didn't want to. He was very careful so that somebody wouldn't say that he was eyeing the women. You know what I mean? It was a lot of.
He didn't want to irritate Miss Terry.
But I just noticed him doing that, and I said, Phil, he never looks at the chick. He's always looking down at the ground, and he'll look up a little bit, but then he'll look back down at the ground.
I didn't catch that, but that may be the case.
Stuff like that. A woman.
I can imagine. You can imagine.
So I said, do you think it's his wife, the reason he's doing that? And then the rumors got out. There's never been rumors about women with him, ever. The rumors that got out is he's going to Texas because his wife was looking at vacation homes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And different rumors can get out at different things. We're going to have to go into the last commercial break.
Okay.
We're going to come back in just a few minutes. So we'll be right back. Y'all hang in there with me.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you for coming back and hanging around with Murray and me. And hey, that'd be a good show, Murray and me. Let's do it.
I have no problem. Let me know.
I just thought about that, Murray and me. That's good. I love it. So I want to talk to you again a little bit more about Alabama politics. So, and again, this is just women's intuition. Women just notice stuff. And so President Trump comes into Huntsville. Mm-hmm. And so, you guys have a lot of great things happening there in Huntsville. And so I noticed Mike Rogers there. Mm-hmm. And so, and now I know Mike. We were in Rotary Club together from the Anniston area and all that kind of stuff. So we had projects we worked on and all this kind of stuff. So that's how I know Mike. But there was something, I noticed something about him. Nothing bad. Is he well?
That's been floating around, Donna. I don't know.
I've been meaning to call.
There have been several comments that, maybe he's not in the best of health. So I don't know of anybody who's running against him in 2026. Now, Palmer's got someone running against him. I've talked to the young man. Nice young man, doesn't stand a chance, but he's a nice young man trying to run. And I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple of names floating around running for, some state Senate seats here in Alabama. But I don't know of anybody who has come out and said that they're going to run against Aderholt or Rogers or some of these other names. Of course, there'll be a new representative down in District 1 because Barry's moving up trying to run for Senate. And Carl is now running for District 1 in that area. Now, there's a couple of strong players down in District 1, so Jerry's going to have his hands full trying to win that seat. But we'll just have to see. I would hope that the Republican Party here in Alabama would finally get their act together and go after Terry Sewell and some other figures, here in the state. Whether they'll do it or not, I don't know.
But she's I don't know. People just follow her. And the people who are following her are the poorest of the poor. And this woman is extremely rich. Yep. She's not for the common person. I don't care what she says. I don't care what pops out of her mouth. She's just really not.
We were talking about, the only time some politics, it's not all, some politicians show up in their districts is when they've got money to hand out toward the election cycle crank up, from that standpoint. And Miss Sewell is just that way. She never shows up. She has a couple of pet projects. And that's who gets the money are those pet projects. And the average income for District 7 used to be about $37,000 a year. That was the average family income. Well, when they redid the districts, she picked up all of Tuscaloosa. She didn't have all of Tuscaloosa at that time.
That makes her numbers look better.
She picked up all of Tuscaloosa, and she picked up a little bit different area in Jefferson County. So the mean income went from 37 to almost 50. Now, 50 doesn't seem like a whole lot, to some folks, but $50,000 in the state of Alabama goes a heck of a lot further than $50,000 in maybe some other state, from that standpoint. So that means her mean income for her district went up quite a bit. But we'll just have to see how it goes. But getting back to Rogers, I've heard several folks say that he was at the in the Oval Office when they were moving the space camp Space Command from Colorado to Alabama. And to be honest with you, he didn't look very well. He looked like maybe he had a cold or the flu, but I've heard that. I just don't have anything that I could put my finger and say, honestly, that's what's going on.
Picked up on that because I know him, and he just didn't look like he felt good.
Yeah. Could be tired.
I guess you could.
I kept trying to think of how long he's been up there. Just about all, with the exception of the young man that took over for Mo Brooks when Mo ran for Senate. He's the youngest representative in the state of Alabama. All the rest of them have been up there for quite a long time. So Barry would have been, if Barry decided to run re-election for district, I think he would be going into his third term if he would have won. He hadn't been up there that long either. Jared Carl hadn't been up there that long, but when they redistrict, the hope beyond hope, it's going to help Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and even maybe South Carolina is the Supreme Court ruling on the redistricting. But if that comes down like we think it's going to come down, there won't be many blue districts left in the South because they're holding everything to I think it's the Civil Rights Act of 1965, where when districts were being drawn, you had to represent the minority population had to be represented. Now, with the way people are intermixed with each other and stuff of this nature, the Supreme Court may come back and say, no, you can't do it like that anymore. So Alabama could go completely red. Mississippi be a small section in Georgia, a small section in South Carolina, in Louisiana. The whole southern sphere could just about be solid red. And it would not hurt my feelings if Terry Sewell or some other figures no longer had a district to represent. Wouldn't bother me in the least little bit.
Wouldn't bother me one bit either. Let's talk New York, New York. Victoria Lee Scott's from New York.
That she is.
About to California.
That she is.
South. She needs to come to the South. I've been trying to talk her into it.
I think she's got a brother that lives down in Florida.
That's not South.
Well,
that's just the northern part of the South.
Yeah, that's a true statement. I mean, Florida's 3 states. You got the South and the northern tier. You got, I don't know what exactly you got from I-4. There's a stretch around Tampa that is, I don't know what it is. But then when you get south of I-4, you get down into the Hispanics quite a bit from that standpoint.
Cubans. So, a lot of Cubans out in there.
Yeah,
a lot of Cubans.
Yeah.
But you know what? Those Cubans love Trump.
Yes, they do.
Oh,
yes,
my
they do.
God.
Well, he stood up for him. I mean, he has called out socialism. He's called out communism. He's called out, Venezuela and Cuba for all the terrible things that they've done to their families when their families were living down there, and what they've done is terrible. Now, are we going to see that in New York? Speaking of New York, are we going to see that trend in the wonderful city of New York? I've been to New York many times. Didn't leave anything up there that I cared not to leave, but still, all in all, there are some good people up there. And I got a big chuckle out of when Mondami went into the Oval Office, earlier or last week. Yeah. And that was just masterfully played. I mean, you sit there and go, well, I'm not going to call him out. I mean, I think he's this, I think he's that, but I'm not going to call him out in the Oval Office. And he's going to go back home now. And all the Democratic Socialists and all the folks who are on the far left are going to go, why did you even go to the Oval Office to talk to the man? You're not what you said you were. You said you were this. We're going to have everything free given to us. Mm-hmm. Well, that ain't going to happen. We all know that's not going to happen. But I guess we shall see what we shall see.
Yeah, but something, the thing about Florida is DeSantis says, when COVID hit, He had a lot of, and he told him, he said, come down here, come down to Florida and run restaurants here. You'll be okay here. Well, a bunch of people did. So they came to Florida, and that's fine if you don't carry your politics too. I mean, if it's not going to be some wacky socialist politics, that's just fine. But New York is not what it used to be. Yeah. I mean, but now I was there when Giuliani was there, and it was a safe place at night. I mean, I went to a lot of business trips out there, and it was just, I loved going then. I don't want to go now.
I wouldn't go up there I have no reason to go up there, but it's scary that so many people believe that the man's going to do what he says he's going to do. That's the amazing thing to me, because free buses have been tried, it's failed. Free grocery stores have tried, they failed. Everything that the gentleman is talking about wanting to do has failed miserably. And he's talking about a tax on white people. I mean, he's come out and said, I'm going to tax the white people to help the minorities. And you sit there and go, well, if I'm a middle class white individual, am I going to get some kind of tax put on me just to help? So there's nothing free, as Prime Minister of England once said. Eventually, you run out of everybody else's money. Then what you going to do?
Yeah, eventually, that's what's got. I asked my grandmother about that, by the way. So we had classes. It was social studies class, and the teacher was talking about all white people had antebellum homes and all this kind of stuff. So I school busted my grandmother, and I said, "What happened to our wealth?" And I mean, they're pretty well off. My granddad worked hard and had his house paid off in 2 years and all this kind. But they worked hard. Nothing was ever given to them.
Sure.
No side of my family. Okay. Apparently, during the Egyptian days, we were the ones that were like making bricks out of dirt. I think that's where my family came from. But anyway, I asked my grandmother, I said, "Where was our antebellum home?" I said, "I'd like to see it. Was it burned down during the war between the states?" And she said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "This said all white people had these antebellum homes and had slaves and all this kind of stuff." She said, "No, I don't know who told you that. That's a lie. Not in this family." And then she said, "Not in your granddaddy's family." And she said, "And not in your daddy's family either." I mean, we were all poor. She said, "We were sharecroppers." She said, she remembered having dirt floors growing up. I mean, she said, my mother actually had dirt floor. And I said, "A dirt floor?" And she said, "Yeah, we didn't have grass either." She said part of her job was to sweep the outside so there wouldn't be so much tracked into the house. You had clean dirt inside the floor.
Oh, yeah, you had dirty dirt outside, and you had nice clean dirt that you could walk barefoot on.
Yeah, so many lives have been told. I mean, so many.
On my father's side, one of my aunts, we went down there one time, and most people probably wouldn't think about it. Now, this was not that long ago. This was in the late 60s and 70s. Still had an outhouse. Still had pots underneath the bed that if you had to get up in the middle of the night, and the outhouse was inside the chicken coop. So you had to go amongst all the chickens and whatnot in all hours of the night. No running water. You had to pull the water from the well. And honestly, from a time frame standpoint, it wasn't that long ago. When you're talking about late 60s and early 70s, that's from some folks, yes, that's a long time ago. But really, in a time frame standpoint, that's really not that long ago.
That's not long at all. I remember my great grandmother going to her house. I loved her well water. So she had this well. It was a small house. And so there was this fenced-in porch kind of a thing, and it had the well there. And man, I would just drink water like it was nothing. I mean, like it was going out of style. I loved the water there. It was just this fresh taste. And as a little kid, I just sit there and I'd say, "Can we have more water?" And she had this big bowl thing, and it had a ladle in it. And so she would say, "You can have all the water you want." And so we would just get that ladle and just drink water like it was.
We didn't have that luxury. Her water was, I guess, a little short of being sulfur water. And you and I know what we're talking about. Some other folks may not know. It definitely had a unique odor to it. in a unique. Now it was different once you boiled it all off. It was okay, but you did not pull up a bucket of water from her well and dip a glass in it and take a sip out of it, because if you were from the city like I was, where we had all that running water and everything was perfect, you sit there and go, what is wrong with this? Oh, that's perfectly fine. I mean, now they would, because they're accustomed to it. So other folks coming down there to see them going, what's going on here? I got to go to the chicken coop. They got ready to cook. When you got, what you guys want for dinner? Oh, some chicken would be good. All right. Walk outside, and all of a sudden you'd hear a cluck. You'd hear a cluck, and the next thing you know, here, pull all the feathers off the chicken. Do what?
You know what? We've got chickens, and they're my girls. And I can imagine eating one of them. I'm a country girl. I really am. I love the country, but I can't do that. I can't eat one of my girls. It'd be like eating my dog buddy. I can't do it. But those girls are laying a ton of eggs. I've been eating a lot of eggs here lately.
But my son's got, I was down at his house yesterday. He's got 22 chickens and one rooster. And of course, the rooster was strutting around there going, don't come over here. Don't come over here. This is mine. These are mine. This is mine. So don't be messing with any of mine. And, but I said, well, buddy, what do you do when they pass away, when the chickens pass away or they get too old to lay eggs? I'm not, in there. And he said, because he's got 2 girls and a boy. And of course, they're now grown now, but he's had chickens for a while when they were a little smaller. Did you didn't tell them you were eating Gertrude there, did you? From that, no.
I can't do it. I just can't. We've got April. So we started out with 3 hens 5 years ago. And so, me, I named them April, May, and June. Their names. Well, April's still around. And she's not laying eggs anymore. And so, we're treating her like she's still part of the family. Sure. I can imagine. I don't know what I'm going to do when something happens to her. That's just, I don't know. There's certain things I can't do in the country. So that would be one of them, is eating one of my girls. But I'm going to tell you what, them eggs, they are so sassy. They think they're all that in a bag of chips. Now, I've got 2 Bar Rock hens. I got 2 of them. And so Phil said, well, what are you going to name them? And I said, Barred Rock, what do you think? Blondie and Joan Jett.
Too funny.
That's 2 of my favorites from the 70s. I love Joan Jett. I love Blondies. One way or another, I'm going to get you.
Yeah, there you go.
Sang that song to my son when he was little, when he was a boy. So, but yeah, things are different in the North than they are in the South.
Absolutely. And people just don't understand it. I get tickled when I have to travel up north all the time when I was doing consultant work, because I'm a Southerner. I don't claim I have an accent, but everybody says, hey, you got to be from the South. Well, we don't pick it up. We know it, but I'd go to New York or Philadelphia, someplace like that. People would just love to hear, you talk, because they're talking 90 miles an hour. And I'm sitting there just sort of listening from that stand. Well, he must not know what's going on because he's not saying anything. No, you listen and you learn, from that standpoint. But I'll still never forget. I had to go to Peabody, Massachusetts. I may have told you this story. I had to go to Peabody, Massachusetts to speak to some executives. And I get up there, and the president of the company introduces me, and he says, well, we want to welcome you to here. And my first words that came out of my mouth was, well, I want to thank you for allowing me to come up to Peabody, Massachusetts and talk to you. Well, that was a no-go. 3 of them raised their hands going, up here, Murray, we call it Peabody. I'm going, well, down south in Memphis, Tennessee, there's this wonderful hotel called the Peabody, and it walks its ducks in and out about 2 or 3 times a day. I'll do my best to say Peabody, but we don't call it that. Is it spelled the same way? Well, yeah. And I said, it's Peabody.
And then there's different areas. areas too. There's a place close to Boaz, Alabama called Aurora. They call it Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I was trying to find something I called it Aurora. So I stopped by a service station, and I'm from the South, okay, but I didn't know that that's what they called it. I'm thinking of Aurora from the Disney cartoon, okay?
Sure.
So anyway, I stopped by and I said, "Can you tell me where Aurora is?" Well, that man started just busting out laughing at the service station. This is a service station. They did your windshields and all that kind of stuff. So he said, "We don't have anything by that name here." And I said, "Well, it's here on your map." And it didn't have GPS. This is back in the 1980s. And I said, "But that's what it says right here on the map, Aurora." And he said, "It's Aurora. If you were from here, you'd know." Well, I'm not from here. I didn't know how to pronounce it. Sorry. So
we've got some unique pronunciations of cities in the state of Alabama. And I'm sure it's across the state, the South. It does not. You don't pronounce it the way it's spelled.
No. Oxford, Alabama, that's where I went to high school. Oxford, Alabama used to be Lick Skillet.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And Noble Street in Anniston still has this on the books. This still on the law that you can't wear blue jeans walking down Noble Street.
There's a couple of. There used to be, and I can't think of where it is now, but you couldn't walk your billy goats at a certain time of day. You couldn't ride your horses into town on a certain time of day. So I'm sure we've got some. And these these laws are still on the books. They never took them away. You sit there and go. Technically, I guess if you did something you weren't supposed to do, that's been on the books since whenever the state was ever created. There's a law on the books, so we can get you. You let your billy goats run loose in the town. What?
Yeah, it reminds me. Also, see, Noble Street, Anniston used to be. They had the name of the model city, and it was they're still called the Model City. Mm-hmm. And Queensheart Avenue is beautiful. It used to be really beautiful. Going down at Christmas time was just like you were in New York City. I'm just telling you what. The women at the Gardeners Club went all out. Lights were everywhere. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And I remember Mother and my aunt and my grandmother going to town, and they would be dressed up in a suit. They looked like Jackie O. This is back in 1960s. And they wore these really high heels, spike heels, going down Noble Street.
Yeah.
You would be looked at like you were all kinds of crazy now if you had on spike heels with a business suit just shopping.
That was the old way you traveled. You didn't travel in sweatsuits and all that kind of stuff.
All being lazy back then, So you know what? We're going to have to end it on that note. I can't believe an hour has flown by. Murray, it
always goes by in a hurry.
It always does. Murray, it's always so good to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Always enjoy it. So I hope folks will come to the platform. If you want to follow me individually, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on X. I can be somewhat vocal, but you do
it in such a nice gentleman way.
But I try to put it in a Southern twist, and
I was calling you Rhett Butler. You remember him? Rhett Butler. That's a name for you.
There you go.
And thank you so much for being with me. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Take care.
Emails.
Bye-bye.
Send emails to Donna at donnasedge.com, Donna at donnasedge.com, and check out the Newscaster Studio. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. We'll see you guys next time.